So last time we were discussing about your test before I discussed the continuous discrete variable. So again, to remind you that wala pa ko katiwas tanan ha sa yung itong test last time pero I had already started. So with your no, it was first oras sa inman basta we determined the mass in terms of mass naman, we determined the mean in terms of expected value. So that was another way of solving for the mean. So we call it this time expected value. And of which you were able to determine the mean by just adding. That was, I think, the second row. So all you have to do is just to add. You will have the mean. And then the last row was because I was asking for the mean or the expected value, variation, and variance and standard deviation. The last row was the variance, the sum of the last row. If you had done it in terms of horizontal table, the last row was for the variance. The sum of the last row was the equivalent to the variance. If you had it in terms of vertical column, because there were some who draw the table vertically, it is the last column will be the variance. But then only that there were some who got the correct answer, but in the placement of the equivalent of the variance, it was not the same as what it was given in your table, because your variance is mu x minus mu squared times p of x. But when it was written, it was x minus mu squared. Ibutang nga nag-minus nga sign, then times p of x, which is wrong. That is multiplication of x minus mu squared times p of x, out of which you will have the variance. Then your variance, square root of it, will be equivalent to the standard deviation. That's it. So just want you to remember that we have a mean which is of different name. Ang kana atong standard deviation and variance later on as we go along the way for our lesson, doon na sa ilain nga pangan. Okay, so we are through already with the discrete probability. We have discrete random variable because there are two: discrete random variable and continuous random variable. We had differentiated discrete random variable from the continuous random variable, wherein your discrete is more, it can be measured more specific, while your continuous is there is extra range of values. Like for example, 1 to 2, you can have 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, so it's a range of values. Now to the discrete random variable, we have discrete probability distribution. We had a distribution because we are representing it in terms of statistics. Now for our continuous, or in our discrete, we call it probability mass density. While in the continuous random variable, we will call it probability density function. So ang usa is probability mass density, while in your continuous it is probability density function. Yes. So there are two conditions, just like the discrete in our continuous probability density function. It also satisfy two requirements also. Like for example, your probability mass function. Now we have in our continuous probability density function, we are going to satisfy the two requirements. That is, you try to look at your LMS na diha. The f of x must be non-negative for each value of the random variable. Non-negative, so it means it should be positive. The second one is the integral over all values of the random variable must equal to 1, or continuous, that must equal to 1. Wherein in the second condition, we are going to use calculus. That is, you are going to use the integral of this value. But we have a probability equivalent which is not making use of the integration, when the probability will be continuous probability density function is just equivalent to 1 all over b minus a, wherein your b and a are specific variables. So that is what I will use only when we will have the solution of the problem. Because if we will have integration na wala man kay mo kibaw sa inyong integral in your mathematics, how much more if it is applied to our statistics? But then anyway, ang integral way of solving for this part of the statistics is not very important. It's not very important. It is only in some cases that you will have to integrate. Pero kay bawman ko nga di magay ta kasabot sa calculus nato, dili na ta magamit ana. So if we are just going to use the simple formula nga p is equals to 1 all over b minus a for determining the probability of a continuous random variable. Now, we are not stressing more in this continuous probability distribution as continuous probability distribution because it includes the different distribution that we are going to study. So we are going to study on the normal distribution, the uniform distribution, exponential distribution, t-distribution, chi-square distribution. Ang kaning tanan nga distribution, this will be making use of continuous probability distribution. So, specific na, pero the general application is the normal distribution. That is why in your senior high, what was discussed in your statistics in your senior high was about only for the normal distribution. Because in college, you will have the different application of the different distribution under the normal distribution. So what will come to our mind first is the normal distribution. So in your normal distribution, you can see in your LMS that is chapter 3. So chapter 3, if you will look at your LMS, you have the normal distribution. We will focus on the normal distribution, which is an application of all distributions that we are going to discuss. So if we understand the normal distribution, it will be easy for us to understand the rest of the distribution under this continuous normal distribution. So we have normal distribution. Are you looking at your LMS? Anyway, if you can't catch up with what I'm talking, you can just read your LMS. Normal
Nag-open
distribution.
sa file, miss.
Yeah, any question? Any
Wala,
question?
miss.
Okay, in your normal distribution, it says that it is a probability function that describes how the values of a variable are distributed. So that is what we are after, how the variables that we are going to discuss are distributed. So that is just like your grades for one semester, it is with your different grades, you know that it is kuan ka ng ang usa 1.5, ang usa 3, ang usa 2. So if you are going to graph it, you are showing the distribution of your grades within the normal curve. It is, but in the normal distribution, it is symmetrical distribution where most of the observation clusters around the central peak and the probabilities of for values farther away from the mean taper off equally in both. So normal distribution, sometimes called the bell curve, is a distribution that occurs normally in many situations. So in most cases of the problem, it is always a normal distribution. So what we know about normal distribution, which is also called a bell curve, so ang inyong picture at the back of your mind is a bell curve. Now, that is what I told you, that if you will have a bell curve graph, ang center ana nga mo divide ana sa bell equally because it is symmetrical, meaning that if you will place a vertical line at the middle of the bell curve, it will divide the bell into two. Symmetrical man sila, so meaning on the left the area is equal to the area on the right, equal, and the sum of all the areas within that bell curve is just equivalent to 1. Di ko na go beyond 1. So the area on the left is 0.5, the area on the right is 0.5 also. When you add it, the total area under the bell curve is 1. So it can be used in terms of the mean and standard deviation. That is what I told you. Now, if you will have the center as a standard deviation for the basis of your data, ibutang ninyo kung standard deviation ang inyong gamiton for the for the bell curve, ibutang ninyo at the center 0 because our standard deviation can be positive or negative. So it will be positive to the right and negative to the left. So you will have one standard deviation on the right plus 2 standard deviation plus 3 standard deviation and so on. On the left, it will be minus 1 standard deviation, minus 2 standard deviation, and minus 3 standard deviation. But then, aside from the standard deviation, we can consider the center also as the mean. What do we mean by the mean? It is what? The average of all the data that you have analyzed. It will be placed at the center. So if your average grade for the accepted average grade is 80, ang kanang 80 mo na ikubong ibutang sa center. So if your average grade is 75, you are on the left side. Kuwang pagka 5 points to get the average passing. If you are getting a grade of 85, na nakay sobra nga 5, so meaning nga kung steady lang ng 85 until the finals, labaw pa ka sa average ka 85 ano mo nakuha. So that is the application of your bell shape. It is widely used in business statistics and in government agencies. Many groups follow the pattern of that normal distribution. The examples are height of the people. If you will place it in the graph in your bell shape, it will be very easy for you to place the height on the average at the center. Then you will have the rest of the heights that will be placed so that you can see it in the. So you have measurement error, blood pressure, points on the test, IQ scores, then salaries. And in your case, it will be your grades. You will be considering properties of a normal distribution. So, properties of the normal distribution, one is our central location of the data. Unsa man to atong central location of the data? Our mean, median, and mode. So it says that one of the properties of a normal distribution is that the mean, median, and mode should be equal. Equal mo gyud na sila. Pero only, there are times, based from the data nga, that is what we had before. Now, when we solve for our mean, and then it's another method, the sum of everything. And then when we solve for our mode, which is the center part of our data, which is arranged in the ascending order, oh no, that which is the mode, the highest frequency and the median, it should have been equal values. Pero you can see nga sometimes there is a little difference. So mao na nga doon na sa tay measurement nga standard deviation and variance. That is if it differs from the central part of the bell shape, which is the center part basis for the normal distribution.
Excuse me, miss. Pwede mo tanong, miss.
Yeah.
Ang sa continuous random variables, miss, equal tanan ng mean, median, o mode. Then sa kuan ra sa discrete ra ang daily at all times equal ang kuan mean,
Really,
median, mode.
it can be your solution of the mean can be for discrete and continuous, parehas ra sila.
Equal.
Discrete in solving for the mean, you have the same method because ang diferensya ra nga if you will have your discrete, kuan ba siya kanang it can be measured. So panangilitan your grade is 85 ana by wala say kuan a range of values. But if you will have continuous, there is a range of values 85 to 86. So your grade can be 85.1, it can be 85.12 if you want to represent it as continuous. Na decimal part ang continuous. Ang discrete is it's a whole number. Mo na ibuti pasabot sa kuan random variable nga discrete. Kuan it is a finite definite ba finite nga data. Pwede siya it is decimal tens place only tens place tanan pero kung we say the variable is continuous, you are given a range of values. So that is if your grade is 85, there is a range of values from 85 to 86. So when you have its individual nga kuan, it can be read as 85.1 or some will read it as 85.12 because that 85 can have decimal part before it can be a whole number ng 86. Continuous ba siya? range of values mo na sa inyong sa thermometer. It cannot be definitely nga mubasa ko ana ang imong temperature is 36. Some will read it as 36.1 because it is possible. Kaya naman say gagmay nga kuan equivalent before it will go on to the next value nga 36, it will before it will go on to 37. Mo na difference ana but then in the getting of the mean kani normal distribution indicating of the mean, median, and mode, supposedly they should be equal. Or dili na equal, closer values. So when you, because it depends upon the data. So if mo bitaw inyo nakitaan sa inyong discrete nga if sometimes your mean is just equal to the median and the mode pero there are some data wherein the mean 83.2 ang imong kuan ang inyong median it is 83 ang imong mode it is 85 because it depends upon the highest frequency so but then there's are closer values kana sa iyang statement are all equal dili man gyud definite imong pagpinsara na equal gyud siya it can be closer to. Okay, any more questions? Parehas ng discrete o kuan ang diferensya ng discrete o normal continuous range of values ang continuous in the data. Okay, any more questions? Uy. Unsa man kinsa wala question? Sa ba to Avenido?
Yes.
Yes, are you satisfied Avenido? Di mo
Ah,
ka
yes, miss.
di mo ka nakakuha na ang mean
Wala, miss. Katong imong gibasa ganiya ba? Wala, curious lang ko ba? Kuan ba?
These are properties of a normal distribution. And then these properties, general maguning normal distribution gagamiton. You can have your normal distribution applied to a discrete data or it can be applied to continuous data. Okay?
Yes, miss.
Okay. So the curve is symmetric at the center, that is around the mean. Okay, number 2. Exactly half of the values are to the left of the center and exactly the total areas under the curve is done. So, ang left area is equivalent to the right area. That is what I told you. Because we have a condition it is equivalent to 1, so the area on the left is 0.5, the area on the right is 0.5. So, if you will add it, it is equivalent to 1. So, those are the properties. The standard model in a normal distribution is a normal distribution with a standard deviation of 1. Ang iyang ko a normal distribution with a mean of 0, mao na siya ikuan ha, mao na siya model sa normal distribution. Is a normal distribution with a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. The empirical rule tells us that the percentage of data falls within a certain number of standard deviation distributions from the mean. So, naa diha i-graph sa inyong kuan. 68% of the data falls within one standard deviation of the mean. Ang tanawan ninyo kan naa diha kuan, bell shape nga akong gibutang or mas easy for you to sa application na diha mga try to look at the graph. Okay. The first graph that you can see is the normal curve ha, kanang puti, normal distribution. Mao na common nga normal distribution wherein inyong kitanaw na sa inyong LMS.
Yes, miss.
Mao na gyud siya normal distribution at tanawa. We have there 0 at the center. So that is for a standard deviation nga kung gamit mo standard deviation ay 0 man at the center. Ang iyang standard deviation positive 1 that is to the right, meaning that the area from 0 to plus 1 standard deviation is 34.13%. There are sometimes in some other graph mo vary ni siya. Kay one ground off or what. And then gikan sa plus 1 nga standard deviation to plus 2 standard deviation, that is 13.59%. Ako pa na vary ni ang value na gikuan gi round off. So meaning that from the center to plus 2 standard deviation, i-add na nimong duha, you will get a total of 68 pila na siya? A total of 95.44 kay area ma itong gi-consider. So from gikan diri sa kuan you have there from minus 2 to plus 2, that is 95.44%. So 95%. But actually, pwede pa man ka mo-move sa minus 3 standard deviation. Pwede pa man apila imong standard deviation. But then the model is, kutog ra na ang area of sa 1 standard deviation. Kana siya ang percentage na siya because we cannot go exactly to 1. It's just a model. So we cannot go exactly to 100%. Kaya yung bansang kuan 99% pa nila. So have another kuan here na ginagmay. Standard normal distribution ginagmay ang iyang pagkuan ha. So you can see that from 0 you have ginagmay na nga area ang ipakita pero it is still the same. So you have there 1 standard deviation but you can see nga ginasa gamay nga part nga 0 to 1 in between is 0.5. So that represents 0.5 standard deviation positive. Gikan sa 0 ngadto sa 0.5, that is actually 19%, or kung atong i-round off mga 20 na siya nya, another 20 like that, basta equivalent to 50% on the right and 50% on the left. Now you can see na kanang usa ka scale diha. There is another scale. You have there the cumulative percent. So you can see that in the minus 3 standard deviation, that is given as 0.1%. So wala tag yun mag-start sa 0. So 0 minus 3 standard, because usually in the model it is minus 3 to plus 3 standard deviation. So you can see the 0.1%, and which actually at the center it becomes 50% if you will have it as cumulative percent in terms of percentage, but not you have your standard deviation, it can be converted to percent. If it is in decimal, that is what you're going to use in distribution. So that is 99.9%. Wag yun exactly nga mabutang. So from the range of values, you can see from 0 to the right, you have 3 standard deviation. To the left is minus 3 standard deviation. So that is what you can see in that bell shape. And then we had another application. Maura gihapon na, pero ang pag-divide maguna sa bell. So kanisa, you can see again the area from minus 3 to plus 3 is 99.7%. 100% supposedly na guna. So in terms in decimal. Then from minus 2 to 2 standard deviation, you will get it as 95%. And from minus 1 to 1, you have it as 68%, because you will be getting the result of this with your area in terms of the table, the Z table. That is what you have there in the first one. Z score, you're going to make use of the Z score formula. Then you will look at your Z table to get the percentage. So mo na it is easy, it will be easy for you to, okay, sometimes when you get the value from the table, tanaw ninyo ang position niya sa bell shape. So itanaw nimo na siya dili dapit sa positive side, you know that the area is, if it is on the positive side, butang ta ang point ta na nakuha ninyo sa table na sa silo gamay sa 1. You cannot see the 1. So when the problem is asking for the area covered, depende na kung ano sa iyang specification, basta kung gikan diri sa left side, ang iyang area, when you will get the area of that one in terms of decimal or percentage, you will be given from the table the value of that point nga naay gibutan ako after the 1. So if you will have the value as, for example, 0.237 ang value dito sa table, you know that gikan sa left naka-cover up na siya 0.5 nga area. So ang area atong akong gibutang dot after the 1 is with 0.237 sa table. It is therefore to get the total area 0.5 kanya agi naman sa 0.5 lagi ka mas pikas to mo left side 0.5 plus the 0.237. So the total area is 0.737. So depende lagi sa problem. Now if the area is on the left side after the minus 1, before the minus 1, ako daring i-specify nga before the minus 1 ang point atong i-determine. What is the area of this in terms of your normal curve? So na-assess before 1. Again, you will get the value Kung it is again 0.237, pero yun sa may ang area na covered, gikan sa left, it is not 0.5 plus 0.237, it is 0.5 minus your 0.237. Kay kuan mo siya, di aman siya sa left side. So, you, your area from the center will be the equivalent of that one plus the 2.37. That is the area that is covered from the center. So, you will know that one and you will have the example, specify lang as example. Okay, try to look at this one. Normal distribution problems. X is normally distributed variable with a mean 30 and standard deviation of 4. So paghimo ninyo sa inyong inyong bell shape, ang minimo sa center ang imong ibutang 30. Ang standard deviation 4. So if 0 at the center, ang imong 4 hay man tuwa sa right side. Kay center 1 2 3 4. So ang center sa graph imo na specify mean is equal to 30, then standard deviation is 0. I-locate nimo ang standard deviation of 4 tuwa na siya sa right sa 0, 1 2 3 4. Oh. Now the problem is find px less than 40 sa letter A. Now the area under the standard normal curve is x is equal to 40. Now so to determine the z value that you are going to get, it will be the given value of the x minus your mean, which is 30 all over 4. Nga tanda mo yung formula ani, this is x minus mu all over standard deviation. So ang nakuha niya is 2.5. Unya na ako itong ibut ko ng formula when we have this. Kani I will just give you an idea of this. So hence you will have 2.5. Now that is if you will have it as x is equal to 40. But if you are given a condition that x is less than 40, so less than 40. So where is that 40 within the bell shape? Ang inyong center is 30. Asa man ang 14 nyo makitaan? If your mean is 30. Siyempre, ang inyong 40 after the 30, di ba? So 30, 40, 50, nana siya diri. Ang iyang equivalent nga kung ang z value is 2.5. So if x is less than 40, in your substitution of the probability, your p is equal to the z value less than the 2.5. So ang inyong z value is 2.5. So it should be less than 2.5 because ang given condition is that p is less than 40. Ang sa 40 kay 2.5 ang iyang z value. So ang iyang probability nga z is less than 2.5 will be the area to the left of the 2.5. So asa man 2.5 eh? Where can you find the the 2.5? Ang 2.5 it stands for the standard deviation. Mo lagi kinahanglan na ay Iya na lang kay ako ni I will just show you the graph of this. Pero you can look at this table, itong simple. Itong puti, kana. Normal distribution. Ang kanang 0, kanang nasa 0, try to look at your bell shape nga white na. Kita na ninyo. O kanang 0, inyo na kay sa para man sa mean of standard deviation. So kay na naman ay 0, ang kana you have plus 1, ang inyong representation will be plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4 kay ang giving niyang standard deviation is 4 man. Gihatag man na sa problem, di ba? It is with a mean of 30 and standard deviation of 4. So ibutan na inyo kutob sa 4. Kanilang blue ay kutob sa 4. Now, ang kanang sa center nga 0 nimo sa standard deviation, butangan sa na nimo siya og below sa 0 og 30 kay mao may atong mean sa center. So kung butangan nimo 30 sa center, asa man nimo i-locate ang 40? Ang gihatag sa problem nga x is equal to 40. It will be after 30, right? It will be after 30. Now for a 40, the z value of the 40 is from our solution mean minus mu all over standard deviation. We were able to get it as 2.5. So kung imo tong i-locate ang 40, you will have to look at that bell shape pangita sa ang 2.5. So you can see the 2.5 mao na location sa 40. Mao na location sa 40. So if the question is x is if the area under the standard normal curve x is equals to 40, mao to na locate the z value is 2.5. Hence, if you're going to locate x is less than 40, ang atong z value nga 2.5, you will have z is less than 2.5. So the area to the left of 2.5 is mao na sa table. So asa man na dapit ang 2.5 nga imong gikuha nga area sa table. So nakakita ka sa 2.5. The area to the left of the 2.5. So 2.5 makakana sa blue nga curve. Can you locate the 2.5? Can you locate the kay tanawang blue nga kuan, blue nga unsa na? Blue nga graph. Nakita niyo ang blue nga graph? Oh, yes.
Kita, miss.
Nakita? So kay parehas man na siya sa result nato nga z value 2.5, mauna siya ay position sa katong 40 na to. Nga 40. Ang iyang gisulti if the z value is less than 2.5. So asa man na ang kuan? That is 2.5. Ang question is if x is less than 40, man siya. The area to the left, ang area niya is to the left of 2.5. Kay less man siya 2.5, di. Siyempre, understood na siya to the left, di ba? Okay, naman, nakuha naman nato ang kanang z value niya nga 2.5. So, pag locate na to sa 2.5, and since it says nga ang x is less than 40, kanang 2.5 is equivalent to the 40 where it is located. So, our P is that the z value is less than 2.5 kay less than 40 man. So tuan na siya sa left of 2.5. Now, if you want to determine the area, ang imong area, you will have to look at the table. You can read that one 0.9938, which actually is the 0.5 at the center, i-add to nimong imong nakuha, you will get that 1.9938. Because it is almost to the kuan hapit na mahurot ang tanang area is already 99%, hapit na mo 100%. Now for x is equal to 21, if you will solve it again for the z value, 21 minus 30 all over 4, you will get a minus 2.25. So ari ka mo tan-aw sa left side sa graph. Ang tan-aw nimo kay it is 21 is x is greater than 21, but then the z value is minus. So imong z value is minus 2.25. So therefore, the area will be on the left side. So tanawa to again ang minus 2.25 in the blue para maka-imagine mo. So we have 2.5. Ang 2.25 is before the 2.5, right? Before. Ay minus 2, then minus 2.5. So in between the 2 and minus 2.5 is your minus 2.25. Now, we are after of the area under the standard curve if P is the probability of x is greater than 21. So since it is greater than negative 2.25, ang imong total area ana is minus ang total area nga 1 for the whole curve minus the area to the left of minus 225. So hay man na ang area to the left of minus 225. Dito na ni siya ni padung sa negative 2.5. Kaya ang kanang negative 2.25 is between man na sa 2 ug negative 2.5. If you will look at the table, you will have a value of 0, 1, 2, 2. So ang iyang kuan ang probability that x is greater than 21 is equivalent to 0.989878. So parehas na procedure ha maura na oh. To get the different values to get the different areas under the standard normal chord, it depends upon as to what is given for the mean and the standard deviation. What you can see here is after given the mean, you place it in the standard in your bell shape para you can picture ang asa dapit ang gipangayo sa problem. So this is solving for the area under the standard normal curve. I-position ninyo ang mean sa center and then you will have your standard deviation with 0 at the center plus positive to the right and negative to the left. We will have an example next time na akong ikuan. Lisod kani mag-imagine ta oy. I will just give you the i-share screen ako next time. So, we are interested in knowing how likely it is for one type of tree to grow to a certain length. The length of these trees exhibit a normal distribution. So the tree that you measure is 120 centimeter. Given the following information, do you think the tree length is uncommon for this type of tree? Tanawa, you are given the mean, you are given the standard deviation. The formula is that you will have x. Ang gihatag nga formula is x, ang kanang x mo na given sa sample. You have bar x is equal to the mean. So that is for the sample. X minus bar x all over the standard deviation. If you are given a data for the population, that becomes x minus mu all over sigma. So, mauna inyong i-apply, then, so try to take note of the formula. You will apply it to the formula, then pagkahuman ana, ibutang na nato sa kanang kuan sa bell shape. So, you should know how to represent your bell shape, and then you place the given para after the solution, you can locate the area. So, ang importante ani is making of the bell shape and the table for Z table. Napa mo yung Z table ninyo? Ang gamitonon. Now, in order to solve the problem, we first need to understand what distribution will look like. Remember that this normal distribution as the mean at the center, the AZ score of 0, and then the image below represent the mean and the distribution of the three heights. Tanawa. You have your bell shape with a 0 at the center, which is equivalent to the mean. So we are given a mean of 100. Ang sa atong problem, we are given a mean of 100 and standard deviation of 10. We are going to determine the tree that you measure is 120 centimeters. So ang given data is 120 centimeters. So if you will apply it to your formula, that will be your data is 120 minus the mean, which is 100 all over standard deviation of 10. May pila man. Itanaw na to sa table. Your given data is 120, right? Ang imong sample data ba is 120 in the problem. You are given a mean of 100 and then a standard deviation of 10. So when you solve, para you can see it in your Z table, you will have it as 120 minus 100 all over 10. So pila man inyong Z value? What is your Z value? Uy. Given na ang tanong. So you are going to
0 to
what is
miss.
Z value?
2.
Your given is 120 minus 100 all over 10, right? So what will be your Z value? That is 2. So if that is your Z value, tanawa kung pila ang iyang value sa Z table para makuha na to ang area of the given 120, wherein in that example you can see it already. The 120 is after the 100, so it has a standard deviation of 10. There is a right side well after of the area where the 120 is. So pila may value sa Z value ninyo nga 2. Tanawa sa table niya, Z table.
0.97.
0.9772.
0.9972.
772.
Okay, so that is
772.
so that one 0. So that is your one 0.9972. So if you will solve for the area, pilaan man na siya ang 120. Ang imong 120 is to the right kay 2 man siya, di ba? Your z value is 2, di ba na siya sa right?
Yes, miss.
Oh, that's sa right. So if you had located that one to the right na 0.99 pila to. So ang area nimo ang imong tan-awon ana is up to the 2 kay 0 man na ana na sa red. So you will have it 1 2 3 4. So assuming that 120 ni cover up nga nito equivalent sa 2 sa ubos. So ang total area niya, pila may ang total area? Pila may ang total area? So asa man inyong tan-awon ang total area sa bell shape ninyo? To the left or to the right uncovered?
To the right.
Ay, tanawa,
The right
tanawa.
covered, miss.
Again.
To the left ang covered, miss.
Oh. Tanawa ninyo mo ito na tanaw na to ang kuan atong graph. Ang atong graph ang gibutang sa ubos 0 mo na nagpasabot nga standard deviation. So ang atong given standard deviation is 10. So maka-imagine na mo gikan sa 0, doon na mo at the right side 1 to 10, right? Standard deviation of plus 1 to up to 10 kay 10 man ang given. Now, ang kanang gibutang lang na siya sa ibaba ang 100, that is supposedly at the bottom doon sa 0. Kaya kanang 100 mao na siya ang mean. So ang representation ana should have been at the center 100 below or 0 sa ang standard deviation. Pero gibutang sa ibabaw para maklaro. Now, when we solve for our z value, we use the formula nga ang data minus the mean all over standard deviation. Ang atong x is the data that was given. So ang atong x is 120. Mao to given nga x. Ang atong mean given is 100. So to apply the formula, to apply it to the formula, it will be 120 minus 100 all over standard deviation of 10. So inyo kung gitagaan og 2 ang z value. Now, from the z value of 2, from your z table, you give me 0.999, sa 0.99, sa to 37 or sa that one. So, mao na yung value. Tanawon ni mo ana asa di inyong yung 120. We are after of the area covered, ha? Covered. So, asa man ang imong kuan area na? On the left, to the left of the 120 or to the right of the 120?
Left, miss.
To the left na siya sa 120, miss.
Kaya ganina, ang nain ni answer nga to the right. Nganong to the right man, nga, nagsugod man tadgikan diri sa kuan sa left side nga no tanaw gi-cover ko na. So if it is to the left of the 120, your location of the 120 at a standard deviation of at a z value of 2 karon pila may area covered nga if your z value is 0.99 di pila may kuan pila may area nga na covered sa kuan. Pila may area nga na covered. If you will just look at the kuan, if you will just look at the graph, nakaibaw na mo daan it is more than 50% kaya na ang cover ko niya gikan ko diri padung dito sa 120 or sa z value nga to, di ba? Nya kaibaw ko ta nga one half of the area is 0.5 kay the whole area is 1. So by just looking at it in the one located on the distribution, in order to find the exact location, we need to find the z-score of 120 mo na. So, you have 2. Since your z-score is 2, that the height of 120 is 2 standard deviation. So, kato mo 120, ni coincide to siya sa plus 2 standard deviation. Kaya butangan to 1 to 10 na to sa right side. So, we can find the z. Inaon yung pagtanaw sa squan. 2. Ang inyong tanawon, 2 man ay whole number. So sa Z table, you can see the 2 kaya 2, 2.1. Nakita na ninyo na diha sa inyong inyong akong example. Uy.
Yes, miss. Yes,
Oh.
miss.
So mo ninyo makita sa dako nga table has Z table. I am just illustrating the 2, 2.1. So 2 kay 2 raman, so you will read at the 0. So you can see it 0.97725, 0.97725. Ang inyong probability ana, this gives us a probability of 0.9772, which is very likely kay makakita mo nga ni silo na siya sa 0.5. So therefore, ang iyang area ana na covered is ngari sa left side, it should be more than the 0.5 na kita na niyo sa graph nga labaw siya sa 0.5. So most likely, ang iyang value from the table is 0.9772 nga area. Yeah, kung gusto mo makuha ang area nga rin sa to the right of the 120, you can just subtract the 1, the total area of 1 minus the 2.99772, mao to say area there is sa right side sa atong 120. Did you get it?
Yes, miss.
Oh.
Balik sa ito na confused miss.
Ha?
Imagine mo din na confused.
Tanawa, sunda lang na ninyo. Maupita na ako nag-step by step ug bugutang. Kay you are given, klaro na oh. We are given 120. 120, that is our data. Nga given with a mean of 100. Nga doon na siya standard deviation nga 10. So mao bitaw na ang permiro ninyong ibutang kaya ma-picture ninyo. Tanaw paghimo din mo graph, nya ibutang dahil to ninyo ang mean ug ang standard deviation nga 0. So kung pila magyatan nga standard deviation, positive or negative, kay 10 man na, that should have been 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 up to 10. Layo na makain ng 10, wala na butangi. Assume na lang na siya nga appeal ka. Dako kay tag graph kung appeal atong 10 na bell shape. So assuming na lang na siya. Now, karon imo jud na i-apply ang formula for the z-score. Your z-score of your 120 is 120 minus 100 all over the standard deviation of 10. Mo to ang inyong z-kuan, ang inyong z-score sa 120 is equivalent to 2. So, kay 2 man ang inyong z-score, tanaw na dayon ninyo sa table, sa z-table, para you can get the equivalent. So, mao na example diha sa z-table, a part of the z-table, nga you will look at 2 kay whole number man siya. Kung na 2 point, kuan pa na siya, 2.1, nya 2.10 kanang first. Pero if it is 2.11, ari mo magtanaw sa 2.1 o sa 0.01 mo na value. So kaya nga tutura man jud whole number. So we look at 0. Of which you can see nga it is 0.97725. Now kung tanaw na atong graph, makaingon sa tang tinuod yun ni kay if we look at the graph, katunga gud sa graph 0.5 naman gud nga area. Di ba ningon ko ninyo? One half of the graph sa middle will be 0.5 and the other one is 0.5. If we got it at 0.9772, most likely sakto siya kay ni after naman siya sa 0.5. So we are getting a part of the area after the 0.5. So kana mao nang 120. So ang sa 120 kung butangan na ninyo linya padung sa ubos ang 120 padung sa ubos padung sa standard deviation nga kuan 2 10 man na siya aday kuan naman ato nako sa z value no. So we can have you can see a z-score naman na diha. You can see nga sobra na siya sa 1/2. So mao na niya ang inya yang naka-covered is 0.977 0.97725 nga area out of the whole area nga 1. So mao na to the left. Ang nabili na nga area, if you want to find out unsay to the right of the 120, it will be 1 minus 0.9. Muna kinahanglan tan-aw ninyo ang graph kay it is either add or subtract. So pananglitan ang gipangay nga area, if I will ask for what is the area, ako specify ha, kani ang given. Pero I will specify what is the area beyond the 120. So dili na ninyo mo i-answer niyo 0.99, you were able to get 0.97725 mao gyapon paagi sa solution. Pero I specified what is the area after the 120 in your graph. So can that be will that be your answer? Dili. you still have that 0.97725, pero the area covered to the right of the 120 nga given is 1 minus that 1. Mao nang remaining area sa right side. To sum it up to 1 ang tanan. So it depends upon the question. Kaya in my question, it will be, what will be the area to the right of this or to the left of this one. So mao nang ibutang ikuan jud na ninyo, i-graph jud na ninyo daan ang bell shape so that you can see the position of your standard deviation, your mean, and the z value para you will know whether it is to be added to the z value of your z table or it will be subtracted. Pero kaysa kuan man ni wala ni specify pero understood siya nga sa left side ang atong pangita. So it is the 0.97725 is already the answer for the area of the 120. Did you get it?
Yes,
O
miss.
pananglitan. Ang ato answer negative 2. Negative 2 ha, assuming lang negative 2. Asa man dapit ang inyong negative side? Ari sa left, right? Uy.
Yes, miss.
Yes, miss.
Unya, ang 2 ninyo, ang inyo makuha sa 2 is negative. Negative, pareha pag answer, negative 9.97725. Magyapon ang answer sa table, pero negative, equal man siya. So, tanawa ang pink ninyo nga graph, narata sa left na. Ang 120 to nasa left, kasi symmetrical man eh. So, kung to sa left, then, I will be asking for the area on the left. Yan, baura kaya po ng values, ha? Ang inyong 120 na, then nasa left side. Can you picture? Na mas right side, ibali na diri sa left side kay symmetrical man. So, maura gyapon tong answer. Ang atong answer lang kay atong z score is minus 2. So ang atong sang answer is minus 0.97725. Ano to sa left? Now, kung maingon ko ninyo unsa may na ang area, what is the area covered by your kuan? By your negative 2 nga z table? What is the area covered? How will you, is that the 1997 the area covered or what? Diyan sa may yung answer. If you have a minus 2 nga kuan, z score. So from your z table, it will be minus 9 minus 97725. Yeah, unsa may, I want you to know, I will be asking for what is the area covered with a z score of minus 2.
Miss,
Yeah.
ang para ko miss, ang kanang area covered is kanang i-minus siya sa 1.
O i-minus mo sa 1 kay imong area covered kato ramang gamay diri sa left, di ba? Gamay naman diri sa left. Kay negative man. So 1 minus 0.9 na pila ang answer po 9.97. Mauto siya na ang area na covered ngari sa left side sa negative 2. Right? Ya kani siya pa kani sa ato adiri kay you can see it mabasa that is the area right away because it covered up the 0.5. Kato siya kay ang 0.997 mo is that equivalent which is for the positive 2. Ani kuan na siya sa right side. So kung kari diri ang left, if you will look at the area of the graph, na siya katurang gamay nga part. So that will be 1 minus 0.97725. Did you get it?
Yes, miss.
So if it is in terms of percentage, the area cover is instead of 0.977, it can be in terms of 97.72%. Kung katusang 1 minus 0.97, ang area 2 will be pila to yung difference sa 0.977. 1 minus 9772. 0.0 guys, ang area niya is only 2.28%. So, if it is to the left, 2.2. Kung kanang atong tanaw ning atong gisol, we have here 97.725. 97%, katong atong makuha sa minus, mo to area to the right side of the graph. So, area una ta ha? Una ta mo ato sa naman ako. We will have first area. So I will give you exercises on Wednesday area ra. Pag gamit na sa inyong Z table, paggamit na ng Z score to get the Z value, yung ana ra pero tan-aw ninyo, unsaon ninyo pag determine whether it will be a minus because it's why you will know it from your mga graph. Kung ang area is subtract ba o minus sa the Z value that you will get. So before we'll go on to the actual normal distribution. Okay, I think that's okay. Maragi ubo na kapot. That will be all for this afternoon. Any question first class? So just for the solution of the area next meeting. Any more questions? I-follow lang na ninyo ang procedure naman as LMS. Just can follow. Any more questions, class?
None so far, miss.
Okay.
Wala na, miss.
Wala pa ko katiwas atong ang ubang sa uban na na-score. Ang uban pa ko katiwas sa. We will finish it later tonight. So that next meeting, we will have na the new assignment that we're going to do. Okay, if you have no more questions, I will dismiss the class na.
Thank you,
No more
miss.
questions?